I've been looking at some of the best golf practice nets to show you what options are out there for your home practice. I've looked at 5 different models across sort of 5 different price points to give you an idea of what you can get for your money. Now, if you do like the look of anything you see within this video, I've put some handy links in the description below to get you the best prices for your region. So without further ado, let's get stuck in and start looking at the first net. So I want to start with the Forb ProFlex pop-up driving net or cage, or you might have seen it as the Forza net. Depending on where you are in the world, it seems to be named differently, which is a little bit strange to start with. Now, I've seen this online for around the £280 mark or around $400 in the US. So this is one of the pricier models that I've looked at and compared the other stuff to. It is, however, very, very good. Now, starting with the assembly, putting it up, I found very easy, but there is a caveat to that. I've been using this on and off most of the winter, so I've done it a few times. I've been taking it up and down all winter. So I'm having to take myself back to kind of the first time I put it up. And from memory, I did find it a little bit fiddly. There's quite a few poles you need to put together and work out where they go. I think there's 6 columns you need to use. And working out where they go and what they fit into is a little bit tricky to start with. But as I said, having done it a few times, it is really straightforward to get stuck into. And once it's up, it's absolutely excellent. What I love about this is the depth and the height of it. It feels very, very safe because you can get very much up close and personal to the net, so you don't have to go a long way back because there's so much depth before you get to the back wall. So it allows you to hit some more lofted clubs, not fearing you're going to go over it, and it will catch the shankiest of all shanks. Basically, so long as you're not hitting the ball backwards, this net will catch the ball, so it is incredibly safe. And because of that, I'm actually naming this one my best for safety out of everything that I've tried. One negative I would say, however, if you do live in a windy area, you are going to need to take this down. This isn't a net you'd want to leave up. There's quite a lot of surface area that the wind picks. And I've been caught by this. I've had to sort of rescue the net in the morning from quite precarious positions in the garden because the wind's gotten up overnight. It does come with pegs to secure it into place, but I found those were a little bit lightweight for the size of the structure. So you're either going to need to take it down or you're going to want to invest in some slightly better, more heavy duty pegs. So the second net I want to talk to you about is called the Galileo, the Gagalileo, the Gallo. Again, it's named a few different things and there's a common theme developing here. I think a lot of these nets are created at kind of a central manufacturer and then handed around amongst different distributors who name them slightly different things depending on maybe the region that they're being sold in. Now this one comes in around the £70 or $80 mark, and it's a nice simple product that's actually a bit like a camping tent you may have put up before, and it goes up in much the same way. Now speaking of the setup, it is a little bit fiddly. You've kind of got 2 long poles that break down into smaller pieces. You have to fit them together and then you've got to slot them through a gap, crisscross them up the top. There's only 2 pieces, but the actual process of it is a little bit fiddly and I found it a bit frustrating at times. I'm not good with fiddly things. But once you've done that, it pretty much pops into place. The tension created there pops it into the shape it needs to be, and then all you've got to do is hang up the target or the protective screen that creates a nice double skin. You're more or less good to go there. So I guess once you're over the slight frustration of getting those poles up, it is a pretty straightforward setup. There's a couple of things I don't love here, and they're probably from a safety point of view. There's no sides on this net, so if you're prone to a wonky one or a dreaded shank, I wouldn't necessarily be setting this one up facing the car in case one slips by. There's also, I wouldn't necessarily be that comfortable hitting wedges because where the crisscross at the top, those poles cross over, it's quite firm. There's not much room between the skin of the net and those poles. So if you lofted one into that cross section, I'd be a little bit concerned about that ricochet and where it might go. So for me, if you're hitting anything that's not likely to hit the double skin, the protective target screen, you might be better with some less than firm, less than real golf balls, maybe airflow balls or some softer balls that are available. Now taking it down is much easier than many others. It's literally just slide those poles back out, fold up the net cloth and you're good to go. So simple, but pretty effective. Some safety issues maybe that you want to think about when you're laying it out, but for me, I would say that's my best value option. Okay, number 3, the third net I'm looking at is the SimSpace Deluxe Practice Net. Comes in at around the £300 mark or $400, I've seen it in the US, and I have to say, Putting this up for the first time was a bit of a nightmare, and truth be told, it's definitely a two-person job. Although it does say that in the instructions, it's not trying to pull the wool over your eyes there. It does recommend having a couple of people to do it, but that's something to bear in mind. And I had to get my wife involved, as you can see here, to help with the setup. Staying on the setup, there's a few different angles and poles that bend at different angles that you can go a little bit wrong with when you're setting up, and as you'll probably see here, I did that quite a few times, so I found that initial setup a little bit frustrating. Once you've done it once, however, it's an absolute doddle. You can see where everything's supposed to have gone, and hindsight, as we know, is a wonderful thing, and the end result is a very, very sturdy product. It's got some great side protection, and the net, to me, felt the strongest and probably the most durable of anything of the selection that I tried, so that was a real plus point. I'd feel a lot more confident leaving this one out in the wind too, due to the nice sort of wide base area, and it's got some real weight to it, this one. This felt really sturdy, so in terms of leaving it out for the night in a bit of a high wind, I would be a bit more comfortable doing so than some of the others that I've tested here, and I would probably name this my most sturdy and stable option. Next up, we have the Spornir SPG7, and this one comes in, I've seen it around £300 in Great Britain or around $300 in the US. And if it's ease of setup you are looking for, then look no further than the Spornir. Basically, you just get it out of the box, pull it out of the bag, and it springs into life. All you've got to do there is add a couple of supports to the side and one optional one across the top, and Bob's your uncle, you're good to go. It's as simple as that. Literally just does it itself. And one thing you can feel throughout this net is its serious quality. The build quality is exceptional. You can feel the materials are well put together, and it's a really strong net. Now, I'm also naming this one my best for features because it's absolutely packed with them. We've got roof protection, we've got side protection, we've even got the base angled back at you so the balls roll back to your feet for the lazy golfers amongst you like me. There's a good target in there as well to focus your eye and focus your practice a little bit more. And as I said, it just feels really well made and very, very sturdy. Now, putting it away is probably pretty easy for a normal human being. The instructions are there for you, but I found it really tricky, and I find these things tricky. So I'm probably a good person to be testing this stuff out. And once again, I had to call my wife in to sort it out. But once she did that, it was pretty self-explanatory. I say self-explanatory, she explained it to me and I worked it out afterwards. And I would say up and down, this is a really easy net to use. Now, the final net I want to show you is the Longridge Quad. Now, I've seen this anywhere between £90 and £150 online. It's very similar to the Spornir in terms of the setup. It's one of those nets you just pull out of the bag that's sort of tension folded, and it just springs into life, and it does almost all of the work for you. You then just have to add 4 poles. There's a couple of different lengths. You just add them into a couple of support slots and the net takes shape. And then all you've got to do is hang the target on the back net and you're up and running. A couple of things I really enjoyed about this net. I really enjoyed the depth of the net. Again, there's a little bit of deep, kind of more of a cage feel to it rather than some of the nets you feel you're just hitting into a flat screen. There's a bit of depth to it. Although the height of the net prohibits you from getting too close to really take advantage of that depth, because you would catch the top of the net on the follow through if you got close enough to take advantage. However, there is a fixed side net to allow you to go a little bit further back. Now, it was fixed in place, and I don't know whether I just got lucky and ordered a right-handed one. I can't quite remember there, but this was on the right-hand side, so I'm guessing you could probably order a left-handed one as well, where that net is fixed on the other side to catch the shanks. Now, there's a couple of things I didn't necessarily love. On that fixed side netting, it seemed very easy if you hit a low shank for the ball to kind of slide under that little gap. It wasn't very tight to the floor and wasn't very robust. So while it's there, I wasn't sure necessarily about how effective it would be. And the noise, because the net, the protective bit or the target area in the net only clipped on at the top 2 areas, it wasn't tensioned at the bottom. There was quite a big impact noise when the ball hits. It's quite a noticeable thud. And I've got neighbours who live a little close by, as you'll see in this video, and I would imagine that would be a little bit distracting and annoying for them if I was out there all summer just popping balls into this net at that kind of noise. But overall, for the price, the ease of putting it up, how sturdy it was, and I really like the shape of it, I think this is a really good, brilliant value option. So I hope that's given you a good idea of what's out there and what's available in the home practice golf net space and what sort of prices you might expect to pay. Now, if you were to push me and price wasn't an object, I think I would probably end up purchasing the Spornier net. As I said, I found it extremely well made. It was packed with features. I really liked that the ball would just keep rolling straight back to my feet because I'm lazy like that. But overall, it just felt like a very good, safe option, and that's important to me when selecting a home practice net. What did you think? Is there anything you like the look of? Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you next time.